Denver Nuggets are the 2023 NBA champions. Let's fucking go, man. All the Nuggets are good. This team is elite. This team is here to stay. Let's fucking go. But let's just get into it. Let's take a more legitimate, serious view. Last night was a rock fight for both teams. Both teams absolutely could not hit a broadside of a barn, as the saying goes. They combined for 16 for 63 from 3, which is absolutely atrocious. And, the game was at the pace that the Heat wanted it. The Heat won the possession battles, turning the Nuggets over 14 times, like 5 or 6 of those in the first quarter alone. But none of that mattered to Nikola Jokic, to Michael Porter Jr., to Aaron Gordon, to KCP, to Bruce Brown, to Christian Brown, to Jeff Green, to DeAndre motherfucking Jordan, who got actual minutes and was solid, to Jamal Murray, to Coach Mike Malone, to Zeke Naji, to Vako Kankar, Reggie Jackson, Thomas Bryant, Peyton Watson. Nothing mattered to this Denver Nuggets team. They came in with a clear sense and a clear mission that they were going to win this game. And no matter what happened, foul trouble, they did it. They did it behind their amazing defense in the second half, holding the Heat to a measly 38 points, only 30% shooting from the field, absolutely locking the Heat up in the second half. And, the Nuggets and Nikola Jokic shut up all the doubters, all the haters, all the Nick Wrights and Kendrick Perkins of the world that said you can't win with Jokic as your center, you can't win with Jokic's terrible defense. And especially, which is so satisfying about tonight, which is a game that the Nuggets won through their defense, through Jokic's defense, like last night or last game of the game before that. He put all that bullshit, that stupid narrative to rest. You can win with Jokic as your defensive center, and he is a good defender. I think it's time we put the Jokic is a bad defender narrative to rest. Yes, he got cooked by Curry and Clay last year, but what center doesn't get cooked by Curry and Clay on the perimeter, especially when you have Franco Campazzo, Austin Rivers, and other terrible defensive guards around you? Who wouldn't get cooked in that situation? Does Joel Embiid do good on the perimeter? I don't think so. Does Giannis do super good on the perimeter? Yeah, he does pretty good, but not super elite. The only great defensive big man for the perimeter is Bam Adebayo. So, I just think it's stupid that everyone looked at last year's playoffs and it's like, oh my goodness, he can't defend anyone because he can't defend Curry in a pick and roll. Who the fuck defends Curry in a pick and roll well? But just for some basic stats, the Nuggets were the 4th best defensive team this postseason by defensive rating. So that's how good their defense was or how many points they allowed per 100 possession. They were the 4th best, with Nikola Jokic playing giant minutes throughout the whole postseason. And out of teams that played 7 or more postseason games, they were the top 2 defense, only behind the New York Knicks, which Tom Thibodeau and a bunch of defensive-minded players. The Nuggets were a good defense the entire postseason, and a lot of that has to do with Nikola Jokic's good rim protection, which we saw again and again and again on display in this series. Yes, he doesn't do everything good. He doesn't switch. He can't move his feet as well as some of these other guys. He doesn't block as many shots as these other guys. But he is a good defender, and I think it's such a lazy, stupid narrative to be like, oh, well, he's a bad defender, so the Nuggets couldn't win. They just proved everyone wrong with that. Also, I want to say this and get it out of the way now. The Nuggets did not have an easy path to the finals. Yes, they didn't face a killer's row of 55-plus win teams like some teams have in the past, but they played and destroyed everyone who was lined up across from them. Also, a big thing that I feel like people always forget is when you're the 1 seed, you're meant to face quote-unquote easier teams. You get one of the 7 or 8 seeds. You get the 4 or 5 seed next. That's the benefit of being the 1 seed, is that you don't have to go through a 6 seed, a 2 or 3 seed, all of these more higher, difficult ranked opponents. That's the benefit of being the 1st seed. They got the 1st seed fair and square. They completely dominated the regular season, and they got to face quote-unquote easier opponents because of that. Also, let's not forget that people were talking about the 12th seeded Lakers potentially being a first-round matchup nightmare for the Nuggets, and maybe that would be the biggest upset in NBA history, that the Lakers could beat the Nuggets in the first round. Let's not forget that people, I think 10 or 11 out of ESPN's 15, 16 analysts picked the Suns to beat them because, KD and Booker are just so good. You think Jokic and Jamal can beat KD and Booker? What is that? Are we just going to act like people weren't doing this? Are we going to act like people weren't saying that the Nuggets were one of the weakest 1 seeds ever and that the West is wide open and open for anybody? But yes, now that the Nuggets have won, the narrative shifted to, it was an easy ring. They didn't face anybody. You can't have it both ways. You can't say the Nuggets are a weak 1 seed and pick the Suns to beat them and be the favorite out the rest. And then they beat the Suns, and the Suns are what? Asshole of the sudden? The Suns are now a bad team because they lost to the Nuggets? That's so lazy and just discounts what the Nuggets and Jokic did. They dominated this postseason, going 16-4, which is the best record since the KD Warriors. One of the best final team records in 15 years, which is really fucking good. They did this with a +8 net rating. The next best team was at +3, which was the Boston Celtics, a 5-point difference from first to second place. Jokic just had one of the greatest, and I genuinely mean one of the greatest postseason runs of all fucking time. He put up 30 points, 13 rebounds, 13.5, but I'm going to take that 0.5 and add it to the assist to ground it up to 10 assists with 1 steal and 1 block, while shooting an absurd 55% from the field, 46% from 3. This is a center who shot 55% from the field, 46% from 3, and 80% from the line. Absolutely absurd. Or that's 63% true shooting, which is great. And the average is like 58, 56 this season. So that's like genuinely the only other type of like elite playoff runs who I think compare to this playoff run is Prime Shaq. And outside of Prime Shaq, at least over the last 25 years, I don't really think anyone else has had as good of a playoff run as Jokic this year. And I'm a Toronto fan. I saw what Kawhi did up close and personal. I was invested in every single one of those games in 2019. And I think Jokic clearly had a better postseason than Kawhi, even though Kawhi was super fucking elite that year. Just for, more context, Jokic broke so many records this postseason, and set completely new ones. Most triple doubles in a single playoff run ever, breaking a Wilt Chamberlain goddamn record, something that's always thought of like as an impossible thing. Was the first player ever with a 30, 20, and 10 stat line. Is the first player ever to lead a whole playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists, and the first player since Jason Kidd to average a triple-double over multiple series, and the first player to average a triple-double and actually win the playoffs, or actually win a chip. And yeah, I know I just spent a lot of time talking about Jokic, but the entire Nuggets team deserves as much shine as him, something that he would always want. Jamal Murray was at worst a top 4 player in every single series this playoffs, and usually was a top 3 player even when there was guys like KD or AD or Jimmy and Bam. He was always in that upper echelon, and it was great to see Murray bounce back and really show the world that he does this shit at the highest level. It's not just the bubble. Murray also broke his own final records, being the first person with 10 or more assists in his first 4 final games ever, and joins Magic as one of the few people to have 4 straight games of 10 plus assists. Murray also just showed so much growth and patience with his playmaking and decision making, and showed everyone that it's not bubble Jamal, it is just Jamal motherfucking Murray. AG was one of the best defenders this postseason and was the linchpin of the Nuggets' elite defense, and had big games on offense when no one else really was there, including an absolutely elite 27-point outing in the finals. MPJ also showed amazing growth on both ends of the floor and was a legitimate good defensive player. MPJ was a guy who used to be hunted on defense, and I don't think I really ever saw anyone go at him in ISO. Braun didn't, Jimmy didn't, Cat really didn't, no one really went at him like that. And he also was a great help side rim protector and showed that he knows how to use his height and size on the defensive and offensive boards, coming up with great clutch rebounds when needed. On the offensive side of the ball, he was great shooting the ball throughout the first 3 series, but that completely went away in the finals, and he did struggle, especially in the first couple of games, just with his focus, with how he was going to impact the floor because his shot wasn't falling. But, after a couple of games of just like shaky performances, he bounced back and found ways to impact the offense with his cutting, his putbacks, his elite offensive rebounding, and he still was a shot maker at times, but most surprisingly was his playmaking. He only averaged like an assist and a little bit throughout the entire postseason, but there was clear games where you could tell Michael Porter Jr. knew he didn't have his shot falling, and he said, okay, I'm going to impact the game in different ways, and that's through my playmaking, that's through my passing. And he set a career high in assists over this postseason. KCP was just that absolutely quintessential 5th guy on a championship team. Played great defense, who hit timely shot after timely shot, and just brought that championship mentality to this team. Bruce Brown off the bench, man. He was so good. He always gave them energy, was able to come in, change the pace of the game, really set the tone for the Denver Nuggets with the bench unit. And he's going to get paid this offseason, which he has earned. Something came out last night, I guess, or this morning about the championship thing, where Bruce Brown said he didn't really care about the money. Money isn't everything, which is very promising because this guy's a player option. Maybe he accepts it or maybe he denies it, and then re-signs with the Nuggets for like 7.5, 7.8 million, I think is how much they can offer him. And then he gets a big bag, not next next year, but the year after. But man, it's just great to know that Bruce Brown really loves this team and really cares about it and really wants to be here. And this is a guy people weren't really interested, who went from like a bench player for the Nets, who, was a solid player but nowhere this good, to a guy who was closing out finals games. They went to him in their closing lineup in clutch finals games because they're like, nah, we trust Bruce Brown to close us and take us home. And with that step back three he hit on Duncan Robinson in game 4, he showed everyone, especially the team, that yeah, this is our guy. We put the right trust in the right guy. Christian Braun, the rookie, was also really good on defense throughout the entire postseason. He did fall out of the rotation in the Lakers series just because he couldn't score on Anthony Davis and his shot wasn't there. But that didn't faze him at all, and he came out and had his best game ever in the NBA, in his NBA career, in a finals game on the road in game 3 against the Miami Heat to help them really win that game, and was one of their best players in that entire game. Jeff Green was solid. He hit a huge 3 in a couple of games and played okay, but it's just nice to see vets get, their rings. Ish Smith, DeAndre Jordan. Funny side note, it's the first Lob City Clipper out of the big 3 to get a chip, so suck it CP3 and Blake. DeAndre Jordan is the first championship player out of that crew. And the last person who I want to really talk about and give a lot of love to is Coach Michael Malone. A lot of Nuggets fans and people doubted him, doubted the organization for keeping him, and thought he should have been fired when the team kind of underperformed, but the team stuck with him. They showed patience, they showed understanding, and they showed that, when you put trust in the guy, they deliver on big moments. Michael Malone, I think, completely shifted the narrative around his career and the type of coach he is with this playoff run, because, he did make really good adjustments in game 3, game 4 against the Lakers, using AG and a lot more pick and roll action away from the ball, a lot more off-ball screening, and just kind of having him move a lot more. Really stressed the Lakers defense and made Anthony Davis have to second guess if he could help to Jokic or not. He made great adjustments against the Miami Heat zone, putting their guys in certain spots to take advantage of the zone. Stuck with guys like Christian Braun, Bruce Brown when they were playing well over guys like MPJ or KCP. And I think that just takes so much maturity from an entire team roster, especially MPJ, who's a max guy, to go from I don't care if I'm not playing the fourth because I just want to win. And that's what he showed this entire time. And looking forward, everyone besides Bruce Brown, who has a player option next year, is under contract until 2024, when KCP then also has a player option, which I feel like he will pick up. And this team is just here to stay. Their core 5 guys are locked in. Jamal Murray, Jokic, MPJ are all just entering their prime or in it or slightly out of it in Michael Porter Jr.'s case. And this team just looks like it's genuinely set up to be a dynasty, and the first dynasty of the 2020s. And I'm just so fucking happy that I was here to watch it. I was able to watch this team go from the bubble where they fell disappointingly all the way till now where they were finally healthy. They were finally able to put it all together. And they showed that when they were all healthy and they were able to put it together, this is a championship team. I called it from the start of the year. I'm just happy that this happened. Go fucking Nuggets. All the Nuggets are good.